Today we're talking about the 5 car brands you need to stop buying if you actually want your vehicle to last 200,000 miles or more. And trust me, this isn't about hating on brands just for fun. This comes from years of working in dealerships, turning wrenches in driveways, diagnosing problems that shouldn't exist, and watching people get burned by vehicles that just don't hold up. This episode is designed so you can listen while you're driving to work, wrenching in your garage, running errands, or just kicking back at home. However it fits into your day. I'm glad you're here. Let me be clear right up front. When I talk about a car lasting 200,000 miles, I'm not talking about limping to that number with a check engine light on, a transmission that slips, and an engine that burns a quart of oil every week. I'm talking about a vehicle that runs strong, stays reliable, doesn't nickel and dime you to death, and actually feels like it's worth keeping. Because here's what most people don't realize. Getting to 200,000 miles isn't just about luck. It's about choosing the right brand, maintaining it properly, and avoiding the manufacturers that have a track record of building vehicles that fall apart right after the warranty expires. And unfortunately, some of these brands have beautiful marketing, loyal fan bases, and dealerships on every corner. But when you look under the hood, talk to mechanics, check the service records, and see what actually happens in the real world, the truth is hard to ignore. So let's get into it. The first brand you need to stop buying if you want longevity is Land Rover. Now, I know that's going to upset some people. Land Rover has a certain image. It's luxurious, it's capable, it's got that British heritage and off-road credibility. But here's the reality. Land Rovers are some of the least reliable vehicles you can buy. And I'm not just talking about minor issues. I'm talking about catastrophic failures, electrical nightmares, air suspension problems, engine issues, and repair bills that'll make your stomach turn. I worked on a Range Rover Sport once. Beautiful truck. Loaded with features, looked like $1 million. The owner brought it in because the check engine light was on and the transmission was acting weird. Turns out, the vehicle had less than 60,000 miles on it, and it needed a new transmission control module, a software update, and about $3,000 in labor and parts, and this wasn't a one-off situation. This is normal for Land Rover. They consistently rank at the bottom of reliability surveys. Consumer Reports, J.D. Power, Independent Mechanics, everyone says the same thing. These vehicles do not last. And here's the kicker. Even if you're willing to deal with the repairs, the cost of ownership is insane. Parts are expensive because they're imported. Labor is expensive because these trucks are complicated. And finding a mechanic who actually knows how to work on them? Good luck. Most independent shops won't touch them. So you're stuck going to the dealership, where they charge you premium rates for everything. I had a customer who bought a used Range Rover with 90,000 miles on it. He thought he was getting a deal. Within 6 months, he'd spent over $8,000 on repairs. Air suspension failed, engine mounts cracked, cooling system leaked, electrical gremlins everywhere. He finally traded it in at a loss and swore he'd never buy another one. And honestly, I don't blame him. If you want a vehicle that'll last 200,000 miles, Land Rover is not the answer. You're better off buying a Toyota 4Runner, a Lexus GX, or even a Honda Pilot. Those vehicles might not have the same badge appeal, but they'll actually get you to 200,000 miles without bankrupting you along the way. The second brand you need to avoid is Jaguar. And look, I get it. Jaguars are gorgeous. They've got style, performance, and that luxury feel that makes you feel like you're driving something special. But when it comes to long-term reliability and durability, Jaguar is a disaster. These cars are plagued with electrical problems, engine issues, transmission failures, and build quality concerns that show up way too early. I've seen Jaguars with less than 50,000 miles that had more warning lights on the dash than a Christmas tree. And the cost to fix them? Absolutely ridiculous. I remember working at a dealership where we had a Jaguar XF in the service bay. The customer complained about a rough idle and a check engine light. We ran the diagnostics, and it turned out the timing chain was stretched. The variable valve timing system was failing, and the engine needed to be torn apart. The repair estimate was over $7,500. The car had 62,000 miles on it. 62,000. That's not even broken in for most Toyotas and Hondas. But for Jaguar, that's just another Tuesday. And it's not just the engines. The transmissions are problematic. The electronics are a nightmare. The infotainment systems freeze and glitch. The air conditioning systems fail. The suspension components wear out prematurely. It's like Jaguar designed these cars to look amazing for the first 3 years, and then fall apart right after. If you're serious about driving a car to 200,000 miles, skip the Jaguar. Buy a Lexus ES, a Genesis G80, or even an Acura TLX. You'll get the luxury feel without the constant headaches and repair bills. The third brand on this list is Chrysler. Now, I know Chrysler has a lot of loyal fans. People love the Pacifica minivan. The 300 has a cult following. And back in the day, Chrysler made some iconic vehicles. But here's the truth. Modern Chryslers are not built to last. They have transmission problems, electrical issues, engine failures, and build quality that just doesn't hold up over time. And if you're planning to keep a vehicle for 200,000 miles, Chrysler is one of the worst choices you can make. Let me tell you about a customer I worked with a few years ago. She bought a Chrysler 200, thought it was a great deal, loved the way it looked, and felt confident because it was a newer model. But by the time she hit 80,000 miles, that car had been in the shop more times than I could count. Transmission slipping, engine misfires, electrical problems, water pump failure, alternator died. And every time she brought it in, it was another bill, another headache, another reason to regret her purchase. She finally traded it in and bought a Honda Accord. And you know what? She's still driving that Accord today, with over 150,000 miles on it, and it's never given her a single major problem. That's the difference. Chrysler vehicles might be affordable up front, but they cost you in the long run. And it's not just the 200. The Pacifica has transmission issues. The 300 has electrical gremlins. Even the older models like the Town and Country had problems with the transmission, the engine, and the suspension. It's a pattern, and if you're paying attention, you'll see it everywhere. Mechanics know it, dealerships know it, and anyone who's owned a Chrysler long enough knows it too. If you want a vehicle that'll actually last, skip Chrysler. Buy a Toyota Camry, a Honda Accord, a Mazda 6, or even a Subaru Legacy. Those cars are built to go the distance, and they won't leave you stranded on the side of the road with a blown transmission at 90,000 miles. The fourth brand you need to stop buying is Fiat. And honestly, this one shouldn't even be a surprise. Fiat has a reputation for being unreliable, and that reputation is well earned. These cars are small, quirky, and fun to drive for about the first year. After that, they start falling apart. Electrical problems, engine issues, transmission failures, rust, build quality that feels like it was put together with duct tape and hope. And the worst part? Finding parts and qualified mechanics to work on them is a nightmare. I worked on a Fiat 500 once. Cute little car, looked great, drove okay when it was running. But the owner brought it in because the check engine light was on, the car was misfiring, and it was burning oil like crazy. We diagnosed it, and it turned out the engine had a known defect. The piston rings were failing, the cylinders were scored, and the only real fix was a complete engine replacement. The car had 71,000 miles on it. 71,000. And the repair cost? Over $6,000. The owner was devastated. She'd bought the car because it was affordable and got good gas mileage. But now she was staring at a repair bill that was more than the car was worth. And that's the problem with Fiat. These cars are cheap to buy, but expensive to own. They break down early, they're hard to fix, and they lose value faster than almost any other brand. If you're looking for a small, fuel-efficient car that'll actually last, buy a Honda Fit, a Toyota Yaris, a Mazda 3, or even a Hyundai Elantra. Those cars will get you to 200,000 miles without the constant drama. The fifth and final brand you need to avoid is Alfa Romeo. Now, I'll admit, Alfa Romeos are beautiful. They're stylish, they're fast, and they've got that Italian flair that makes them stand out. But when it comes to reliability, they're a complete disaster. These cars are plagued with electrical problems, engine issues, transmission failures, and build quality that just doesn't hold up. And if you're planning to keep a car for 200,000 miles, Alfa Romeo is one of the worst choices you can possibly make. I had a customer who bought an Alfa Romeo Giulia. He was so excited about it. Loved the way it looked, loved the way it drove, and felt like he was driving something special. But within the first year, he'd already had it in the shop 3 times. Electrical issues, infotainment system glitches, engine warning lights. And by the time he hit 50,000 miles, the transmission was acting up, the suspension was making noise, and he was seriously regretting his decision. He traded it in for a BMW 3 Series. And even though BMWs aren't perfect, he said it was night and day compared to the Alfa Romeo. And that's the thing. Alfa Romeo might have the looks and the performance, but they don't have the reliability. They're expensive to fix. Parts are hard to find, and most mechanics don't want to work on them because they're so problematic. If you want a sporty sedan that'll actually last, buy a Mazda 6, a Honda Accord Sport, a Toyota Camry TRD, or even a Subaru WRX. Those cars will give you the performance without the constant headaches. So now that we've covered the 5 brands you need to avoid, let's talk about why this matters. Because here's the thing. Buying a car is one of the biggest financial decisions most people make. And if you choose the wrong brand, it can cost you thousands of dollars in repairs, depreciation, and lost time. But if you choose the right brand, you can drive that car for 200,000 miles or more, save money, and actually enjoy the experience. I've seen it happen over and over again. People buy a car based on looks, marketing, or a good deal. And then they regret it a few years later when the repairs start piling up. I had a customer who bought a used Land Rover because it was cheap. He thought he was getting a steal. But within 2 years, he'd spent more on repairs than he paid for the car. And when he finally tried to sell it, nobody wanted it. He ended up trading it in for almost nothing and buying a Toyota Tacoma. And you know what? That Tacoma is still running strong today with over 200,000 miles on it. That's the difference between buying a reliable brand and buying a problematic one. Reliable brands like Toyota, Honda, Mazda, and Subaru are built to last. They use proven technology, they have strong engineering, they test their vehicles extensively, and they stand behind their products. Problematic brands like Land Rover, Jaguar, Chrysler, Fiat, and Alfa Romeo, they focus on style, performance, and marketing. But when it comes to long-term durability, they fall short. And here's something most people don't think about: the cost of ownership. When you buy a car, you're not just paying for the purchase price. You're also paying for maintenance, repairs, insurance, fuel, and depreciation. And if you buy a problematic brand, those costs add up fast. I've seen people spend $10,000 or more on repairs in just a few years. That's money that could have gone toward a down payment on a house, a vacation, or retirement savings. But instead, it went to fixing a car that should have never broken down in the first place. Let me give you a real-world example. I had a customer who bought a Jaguar XF for $30,000. It was a few years old, had low miles, and looked great. But over the next 3 years, he spent over $12,000 on repairs: transmission, engine, electrical, suspension. By the time he traded it in, he'd lost almost $20,000 in depreciation and repair costs. Meanwhile, his neighbor bought a Honda Accord for the same price. And over those same 3 years, he spent less than $2,000 on maintenance, oil changes, tires, brakes. That's it. And when he went to sell it, he got almost $20,000 for it. Same starting price. Completely different outcome. That's why choosing the right brand matters. It's not just about reliability. It's about total cost of ownership. It's about peace of mind. It's about knowing that your car will start every morning, get you where you need to go, and not leave you stranded on the side of the road with a blown engine or a dead transmission. Now, I know some people are going to say, "But I love my Land Rover," or "My Jaguar has been great." And look, I'm not saying every single vehicle from these brands is going to fail. There are always exceptions. But when you look at the data, the reliability surveys, the repair records, and the real-world experiences of thousands of owners, the pattern is clear. These brands have higher failure rates, higher repair costs, and lower long-term reliability than brands like Toyota, Honda, Mazda, and Subaru. And here's the other thing. Even if your Land Rover or Jaguar has been reliable so far, that doesn't mean it'll stay that way. I've seen plenty of vehicles that ran great for the first 50 or 60,000 miles and then fell apart. The transmission failed. The engine developed problems. The electrical system went haywire. And by the time the owner realized what was happening, they were already deep into expensive repairs with no easy way out. That's why I always tell people, don't gamble with your money. Buy a brand that has a proven track record of reliability. Buy a vehicle that's been tested, reviewed, and recommended by mechanics, consumer advocates, and long-term owners. And avoid the brands that consistently rank at the bottom of reliability surveys. Because here's the truth, you can't afford to waste money on a car that won't last. Life is expensive, gas is expensive, insurance is expensive, rent and mortgages are expensive. The last thing you need is a car that's constantly breaking down and draining your bank account. You need a vehicle that's dependable, affordable to maintain, and built to go the distance. So what should you buy instead? If you want a vehicle that'll last 200,000 miles or more, here are the brands you should focus on. Toyota, Honda, Mazda, Subaru, Lexus, Acura, and even some models from Hyundai and Kia, as long as you do your research and choose the right engine and transmission combination. Let me break it down. Toyota is the gold standard for reliability. The Camry, the Corolla, the RAV4, the Tacoma, the 4Runner. These vehicles are legendary for their durability. I've seen Camrys with over 300,000 miles still running strong. I've seen Tacomas with over 400,000 miles still being used as work trucks. And the best part? The maintenance is affordable. Parts are easy to find, and almost any mechanic can work on them. Honda is right up there with Toyota. The Accord, the Civic, the CR-V, the Pilot, these are some of the most reliable vehicles on the road. They're well-engineered, well-built, and designed to last. I've worked on Hondas with over 200,000 miles that still felt tight, ran smooth, and didn't have any major issues. And just like Toyota, the cost of ownership is low. Maintenance is straightforward, parts are affordable, and the resale value is strong. Mazda is another great choice. The Mazda 3, the Mazda 6, the CX-5, the CX-9. These vehicles are fun to drive, well-built, and surprisingly reliable. Mazda doesn't get as much attention as Toyota or Honda, but they've really stepped up their game in recent years. Their engines are solid, their transmissions are dependable, and their build quality is excellent. I've seen plenty of Mazdas go well past 200,000 miles with minimal issues. Subaru is a solid option if you need all-wheel drive. The Outback, the Forester, the Crosstrek, these vehicles are built for longevity. They're not perfect. Some of the older models had head gasket issues, and the CVT transmissions can be problematic if not maintained properly. But overall, Subarus are reliable, capable, and built to handle tough conditions. Just make sure you keep up with the maintenance, especially the transmission fluid changes. Lexus and Acura are the luxury versions of Toyota and Honda. If you want a premium vehicle that'll actually last, these are your best bets. The Lexus ES, the RX, the GX. These vehicles are bulletproof. Same with the Acura TLX, the RDX, and the MDX. They've got the luxury features, the comfort, and the refinement, but they're built on proven platforms with reliable engines and transmissions, and the cost of ownership is way lower than brands like Land Rover, Jaguar, or Alfa Romeo. Even some Hyundai and Kia models are worth considering. The Hyundai Sonata, the Elantra, the Tucson, the Kia Optima, the Forte, the Sportage. These vehicles have come a long way in terms of reliability. Just make sure you avoid the models with the Theta 2 engine, which had some serious problems. Do your research, check the service bulletins, and choose wisely. Now, here's the thing. Even if you buy a reliable brand, you still need to take care of it. That means regular oil changes. That means checking the fluids. That means replacing the air filters, the spark plugs, the transmission fluid, and the coolant on schedule. That means addressing problems early before they turn into expensive repairs. And that means driving smart, not beating on the engine, not ignoring warning lights, and not skipping maintenance because you're trying to save a few bucks. I've seen people ruin perfectly good Toyotas and Hondas because they didn't take care of them. They went 20,000 miles without an oil change. They ignored the check engine light. They drove with low coolant. They skipped the transmission service. And then they wondered why the engine seized or the transmission failed. Even the most reliable vehicle in the world won't last if you don't maintain it. But if you buy the right brand and take care of it, you can absolutely get 200,000 miles or more. I've seen it happen countless times. I've worked on Camrys with 300,000 miles, Accords with 250,000 miles, Tacomas with 400,000 miles, and they were still running strong, still reliable, and still worth keeping. That's the goal. Buy a vehicle that's built to last. Take care of it, drive it smart, and enjoy the peace of mind that comes with knowing you made a smart decision. So to wrap this up, if you want a vehicle that'll last 200,000 miles, stop buying Land Rover, Jaguar, Chrysler, Fiat, and Alfa Romeo. These brands have proven time and time again that they're not built for long-term reliability. They're expensive to fix, they break down early, and they'll cost you way more money in the long run than they're worth. Instead, focus on brands like Toyota, Honda, Mazda, Subaru, Lexus, and Acura. These are the vehicles that'll get you to 200,000 miles and beyond. They're reliable, they're affordable to maintain, and they're built to last. And remember, buying a car is a big decision. Don't let marketing, emotions, or a good deal cloud your judgment. Do your research, talk to mechanics, check the reliability surveys, and choose a vehicle that's going to serve you well for years to come. Thanks for listening. Drive safe, make smart choices, and I'll catch you on the next one.